Welcome back, everybody. This is episode 14 of the Back to the Basics series. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit here, and we're going to start talking in this video about drills and everyday drills. I'm going to cover some drills that we use every day, mainly in pre-practice, but some of them are also included in the practice schedule. But then I'm also going to talk about a few specialized drills that we use if we're working on a particular concept. So if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up here, and also any of the other videos that I've posted, especially in this series, are linked down in the description. So go ahead and check those out if you haven't seen them. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Again, it helps the channel grow. It helps these videos get out. Again, I'm trying to get this series done before actual football season rolls around. So hopefully some of you coaches can use these ideas or thoughts into your own practice plans and eventually installs this football season. So again, we were talking about drills today, E.D.Ds, some coaches call them. So if you want to see that, check out, stick around. All right, so the first drill we're going to talk about here is settle and noose. First few drills I'm going to show here, draw out, are drills that we eventually teach in pre-practice. We eventually use in pre-practice. So eventually our drills get started at the beginning of practice, and this is essentially before we even really start the full practice. So we get these first 10-15 minutes of pre-practice and use these drills every single day. So talk about settle and noose. Pretty easy drill to teach here. So we use two stations here. So we'll have essentially 4 cones set up, or trash cans, whatever you have. We'll have a wide receiver on this line, wide receiver over here, and then we'll have a QB and then another QB. Distance be by these cones here, or trash cans. Typically, I'd say anywhere between 5 and 7 yards. Quarterback's about 5-7 yards. You can even put a center in here if you wanted to work on snaps. We've done it sometimes. So basically what the idea of this drill is receiver is going to either 50% slow, 50 to 75%, or you can even do 100%. I've done them both ways, where he's going to draw to this cone. He's going to get busy feet and kind of break down. Then he's going to come back this way. Same thing, get busy feet, break down, come back in and settle up right in the middle with his hands, showing his hands, slowly fading towards the quarterback here with his hands up. And then quarterback is going to get into a slight drop. We can even have him kind of move and shuffle inside the pocket, staying on his toes. And once he sees that setup, he's going to fire the ball in there. And our receiver is going to make a tight turn and get up the field for about 5-10 yards and try and finish the catch. We always preach finish the catch. Now, what is the goal behind this? Well, again, a lot of the routes for the air raid offense are routes that are dictated based on space. So what we teach here is find the space. So these cones or these garbage cans, whatever you're using, are meant to simulate or imitate defenders, and we're having that receiver settle up in the space in between those defenders. So we're constantly teaching them or telling them, find the space, locate the space. And this is just a drill that helps bring that out a little bit more. And so they're trying to settle in the space in the middle of the defenders. And so that translates into their routes later on when they run them. So again, back and forth, and then they come back, settle up in that space, catch the ball, and we typically include our running backs in with this as well, because the running backs do catch the ball in the backfield quite a bit. So we want to get them catches as well. We do this for maybe about 10 minutes. So this is a real important drill for us. It's called settle and noose. You've heard other coaches probably call it the perfect drill. It's either one of them we've used. So it's a really great drill. I'm going to show you just a different variation of how we do it as well, especially if you're into running mesh. It kind of helps with that as well. So I'm going to show you that next. Here's another variation of settle and noose that you can do, especially if you're a team that runs mesh quite a bit. So what we're doing here is we got 3 cones, 3 trash cans. We got 2 quarterbacks either side of line of receivers. The line, fades out that way. So what we can do here is we'll have a receiver, both receivers come at each other. It doesn't really matter who's the mesh, under and over. And they're running so close to each other that they're slapping hands. But it's like we teach them when we teach math, they want to run that crossing route as close as they can so they can slap hands, so it almost turns into a rub route. So they get to that point, they come in here in between these defenders, settle up. All right, same thing over here. He comes back, settles up in here. Quarterback, same thing, drops back, kind of shuffles either way, and then fires the ball in, Okay, tight turn up the field, tight turn up the field. So that's just another variation of settle loose that you can use too, especially if you're a team that's big on running mesh. Helps with that again because in the mesh concept, we teach that the receivers need to recognize whether it's man or zone, and if it's a zone defense, then they can break their mesh route, their crossing route into an open space in a hole in the zone and settle up in that space for the quarterback to see. So this helps with that as well. So we use this every once in a while too as well. So it's just a good variation of settle noose. Now this, if you are a big mesh team, this could be an everyday drill. This is not something that we used every day because we were not a real large mesh running team, but it's something you can use. So on to the next drill that we teach here would be pat and go. This is something we do right after settle noose. So we go with settle noose, and then we immediately move into pat and go. And again, the first couple of days you teach us, you got to teach them where to go and how to set it up. But after a while, or not after a while, but mainly after a couple of days, once they keep doing it over and over again, they do it without even you having to tell them. So the way we set up pat and go is we take a big chunk of the field here, usually the offensive lineman or off the side of the field or further down, towards the goal line or something like that, working on what they're doing every day in the pre-practice, because this is still pre-practice for us. So we'd have a quarterback, another quarterback down here. Distance from there is like almost 40 yards, I would say. You want some space. Have a line of wide receivers over here, another line of wide receivers over here. And essentially just turns into a big circle. Okay. And what we try and do here is we try and work two routes. And we always start off with just verticals. And what we're having them work on, you can do this full speed. This is kind of just treated as a warm up as well, where they're going about 75%. Mainly it's about catching the ball. This is not about route running right now. Quarterback is just trying to work on accuracy, delivering the ball on time, delivering the ball in front, not behind the receiver. You could speed it up a little bit if you wanted to, as far as the pace and the exertion of energy, I guess you would say, if you wanted to. We do sometimes, and so this is just a good drill to work on catching, getting routes in. Typically, what we try to do is pick two routes a day. So, for example, we might combine verts with hitches. So we would have hitches here. So we'd work the verts for 5 minutes or so. And it's just a constant circle. So they're getting a lot of reps. They're just constantly moving. So this receiver would drop the ball by the quarterback. And we would even put centers here too as well to work on snaps if they weren't doing anything with the offensive lineman that they needed to be. And it would just constantly, it'd be just a constant. So he'd come in here, this receiver would go here, and we would just constantly be just rotating. And the running backs as well would be in this. Then, 5-10 minutes or 5 minutes, switch it over to the hitches. I mean, you can work slants in this. You work out routes, corner routes. If you're working more out breaking routes, you bring the receivers in almost to like a slot position. There's a lot you can do with this. Typically, we try to keep it to two routes so that we could, we would spend about 10 minutes on this. So again, settle a noose and pat and go for us was a pre-practice drill that I had a lot of my assistant coaches usually would get these drills set up. Have one with the quarterbacks, wide receivers, and running backs until I got out to finish up with locker room stuff. And the other coach or whatnot would be taking over the offensive lineman and having them go through their drills. So these two drills, settle and noose and pat and go for the skill guys, is one or two drills that we used every single day. And again, you can change up the variations however you want and the speed of the drill however you want or however you please. But this is kind of how we did it. And it's a very, very important drill, in my opinion. Again, between this and settle and noose, we were aiming to try and get each skill guy 20 to 30 catches just in the pre-practice alone. That's how fast paced we were trying to get this drill going, just constantly moving. No one really standing around too much. So trying to get the catches as much as possible. Again, this drill is not dedicated towards route running. This is mainly just about getting off the line, getting the right path, and then obviously catching the ball and putting it away. All right, so everyday drills here we have for O-lineman here. We have a couple things that we do here. So first thing we really always start off with is we get them over to the chute. So if you have chutes, I highly recommend this. So again, put O-lineman there. and get in their stance, and they're going to fire out of their stance, low walking through the shoes. Just teach them not to stand straight up. So we have them do 3 or 4 reps with this, and then we can move on to fire out of our stance drill. And what we start off with typically is we'll get hand shields. So we'll have maybe 5 O-line with a hand shield. I'm just going to draw 1 here. And all this is he's going to get in his stance. He's going to fire out and make hand contact with the hand shield here. And all we're focusing on is a good stance, not proper stance to where he can see what he's going on. Obviously, head is up. And that first step when he fires out of the stance, where are his hands being placed? We should not too high, not too low. We show him where to put his hands, and it's just how fast can he get out of the stance, because he's got to make contact with that defensive lineman. So he's got to get out of the stance. He cannot be slow. He's not standing straight up. You can translate this to 5-man or 6-man sled, whatever you have. And this is more of a fast-paced drill. So you put a lineman in front of each one. And then the rest of the linemen are here, how many we got. And coach blows a whistle. They fire out, make contact with the sled, then rotate down, fire out, rotate down. And then once they're all rotated out, this guy goes back to the line, and we keep moving, and we keep moving. So this drill, again, helps with firing out of your stance, teaches that, but it also teaches fast pace, because we are a no huddle team. So we are trying to get to the line as quick as possible. So this teaches them to get back in their stance and get reset and ready to go run another play. So we were working on hand placement, working on stance, working on the fast pace. So this is a good drill to get the offensive lineman a workout, get them a sweat going, because again, this is all pre-practice stuff here. So it's a very, very good drill. You can cycle through this pretty quickly, so it doesn't take much time. So 5 minutes at most, I would say with this one. So start off with this, and then you can eventually just turn into this, and you use this, every single day. Want to hear the sled popping though, because they need to have aggressive hands and firing out of the stance and really making contact with the sled. Another thing we definitely do in pre-practice every day, and we also do it throughout practice too, is our vertical sets. So there's multiple ways you can do this. You can do one-on-ones here. You can have the whole line going and then pick a few to do it. So I'll just show you 2 just to give you an example. So a lot of times we just do 2 at a time. So we have a D-line, a D-line, O-line, and an O-line. And we start off with outside pass first. So they're going to run outside pass. And we are teaching the offensive lineman just to get out of their stance, let that back foot lead them. All right. And just keeping the feet in front of them, having a good base, and staying in front of that defense lineman. Now, again, this is not a pass rushing drill. So defense lineman is not going to sit here and do spin moves and swim moves or anything like that. They're just going on a path and trying to get to a path here. Maybe we put a cone or a trash can to simulate where the quarterback might be, and they got to get there. And the offensive lineman's just got to stay in front of that defensive lineman. Sometimes we do change the path and have them go to an inside rush. Because we do preach the simple little drill, especially at middle school, inside, head up, outside. And so we want to protect the inside first. So sometimes we do give an inside path, and sometimes we tell the offensive lineman, sometimes we don't. You can do this interchange. We make them better. The further along you get, you can even have the defensive line choose, and so the offensive lineman is just polished at seeing both paths the defensive lineman might take. So again, it's all about footwork. It's all about keeping their feet underneath them and moving their feet, and keep kicking out that back leg that's going to try and lead them. I almost call it like a backward skip, essentially, is what it is. So that's what we do. Now, this is drill we do in pre-practice every day, but we also have designated times in actual practice. We're working on vertical sets even more, and that turns more into a pass rush drill. We make it a little bit harder, it's a little bit more fast-paced, a little bit more physical. So this is something, excuse me, I recommend doing every day, including pre-practice, just so you get so much work, so many reps out of it. Another thing we do as well is we will do our combo drill. So we'll have a defensive lineman. Maybe we'll put a cone, or we'll actually just use another player just to stand there, so the defense line can rotate the linebacker and just stand there. And then we have 2 O linemen here, and they would combo here and carry that combo up to the linebacker, the second level. And sometimes eventually, once we get better at this, we can tell this linebacker to either break this way or break this way. And based on our rule, that, they're comboing with their eyes to this player right here. So based on what they see, this lineman can disengage and move on to the linebacker, or vice versa if he goes that way. So these are 4 drills that we use with the O lineman every single day. And right now we kind of interchange these two. Eventually exclusively just use this one once we get better at it. This is probably the most important one in my opinion, just because we are a passing team and we use this so much. So we also use this in regular practice as well, the vertical sets. Now, there's different variations. They can be as simple as this to a little bit more complex where you have the full line going all at once. But this is definitely one thing that we use every single day. So these are everyday drills for offensive linemen right here. These four drills right here, that again, I highly recommend using. Back to the skill position here, we're going to talk about routes on air here. This is a drill that's not necessarily pre-practice, but we do have this drill set up in our practice schedule basically every single day, whether sometimes the routes on air spot in the practice plan is a little bit larger for certain days, but it's pretty simple. You can use centers with this, or you don't have to, but typically we start off in a 2x2 set. So I'm just going to draw a center here just to have it. So we have our H, our X, we have our Z, Y here, and perfect world, you would have 4 quarterbacks or 5, even 5 quarterbacks. We'd have our quarterbacks here. So perfect world if you had 4 quarterbacks. We did not. We only had 2, and I will explain how to do it with just 2. And you have your Fs back here as well. So typically we'd have 2 going at the same time. All right, so what we would do here, say for example, we are running, let's just say we're running stick. So we're going to have both sides run stick, even though, in our actual plays, we call stick to a certain side. The other side is doing backside slants. But in this drill here, we're trying to rep the routes, and this is where we are really working on the routes, working on where the space is. So each group is going to do it same way. Each group is going to do the concept if we were working, say for example, stick here. So way it would work: this quarterback is going to throw the vert over here. This quarterback's going to throw the stick. He's going to throw the stick, and he's going to throw the vert, and then they would just rotate. So they would rotate. You could do it that way. Another way that we would do it is if you don't have a perfect world of 4 quarterbacks, which we didn't, you do 2. This is how we would do it. It's a little bit slower paced, but you still get the reps here as well. So for example, say we would just do left side. So we would call left side first. So, and we'll just draw in the routes here. Okay. So we did left side. This quarterback's going to throw the vert. This quarterback's going to throw the stick. Over here, then we go to the right side. This quarterback's going to throw the vert. This quarterback's going to throw the stick. And then the next time we go around it, then these quarterbacks will switch so that he gets used to throwing the stick on the left side. So we're trying to get them to throw both sides, get used to throwing both sides. And then after we do this, they would obviously run their swings, and quarterback would throw the swing routes there. Sometimes you don't have to include the running backs if you don't want to. Sometimes we did, sometimes we didn't. A lot of times we included them in the routes on air part of the drill, because then we go into our screen drill, which I'll show you here. That's typically when the running backs will be working with the offensive line, working on their blocking schemes and reading blocks and things like that. We have different drills for that. But so this is exactly, routes in air. Obviously, you choose a few concepts or a couple concepts, or even just one concept you want to work on routes in air and just keep throwing it. This is about perfecting the route, getting, this is full speed here. This is full speed. Now, if I go back to this, some coaches teach the progressions, going through the progressions. I wasn't necessarily able to do that. Again, quarterbacks reading progressions, depending on where they are in their progressions in this line of quarterbacks. I didn't do that because I only had 2 quarterbacks. So basically I was just focused more on just getting the space, getting that route ran clean, fast, and quarterback coming into step, we're not reading anything. He's just throwing the route, just getting used to muscle memory as opposed to where that route is going to be. So it was all about just catching the ball, good throws, good accurate throws, the right steps as far as the quarterback. I wasn't necessarily worried too much about progressions in this, especially when I didn't have 4 quarterbacks. So it wasn't as big of a deal for me, and it worked out well. You could also do this by 3x1 as well, if you wanted to. But again, an important drill, routes on air, for me, carved it out. This was not a pre-practice. This was somewhere in the middle of practice that we were doing this, but a very, very important drill. These next few clips here, I'm just going to show you a couple of little specialized drills that we did here. We did a little bit of screen drill every single day. And you can change this up however you wanted to. So let's say we had a wide receiver here, wide receiver here, wide receiver, wide receiver. Okay, so go on both sides. Quarterbacks would switch every couple reps here, so you could work your bubbles. Okay, and you could put little trash cans here if you wanted to, and you're just working your bubbles. Have them come and block, or have it come and block depending on where the most dangerous man. So you can move this trash can. Just make sure. The one thing we preach here is just most dangerous man. So you could have different ways you do it. If this corner's way back and this player's up, this overhang's up, he's obviously the most dangerous man. And then the receiver would obviously be one-on-one with the corner. Switch it up, different works, and then obviously you could do the now screens as well, where he's coming flat for 5. So now screen here, he's coming flat for 5, and work those as well. Now, one thing you could do as well is change it up to where you would have a center, a lineman, O-line, we'll just do O-line, another center, and then just 2 O-line here as well. Quarterback, and wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver, and then a wide receiver here as well. And you can work in tunnels. You can do a tunnel screen session as well. Obviously no running backs in here. So the running backs at this point could either pitch in with the slots here, or you could also have them doing their own thing at the, whether they're doing bag drills, gauntlet, whatever it might be. You could even just do swing drill where they're just catching swings out of the backfield with a coach. But little tunnel drill here where he's coming 2 steps or 3 steps, retracing down the line, flat for 5 here, release out, and then he's coming through the tunnel here. Okay, same thing, flat for 5, he's coming back, retracing, out, and back up through. So these are a couple of little specialized screen drills that we do as well, because we had 4 screens, I believe, the bubble, the now screen, the tunnel screen, and then a middle screen as well. So highly recommend a screen drill portion in your practice plan every single day as well, working on whether you can almost hit bubbles and now screens at the same time. You could have them face each other. I've seen them do that where one side's doing now screens, the other side's doing bubble screens. There are different ways you can do it, but I highly recommend working some sort of a screen session in every single day of practice. So this is, again, screen drill is an everyday drill for me as well. So I'm going to show a couple specialized drills here that we tried to use every day, but these weren't used every day, but these are drills that I highly recommend. So these are kind of some bonus drills that we used. So you have a center, quarterback, back, wide receiver here, wide receivers. And then the extra wide receivers, we would just put it corner and an overhang, corner. Now, this is kind of tied into our 4 verts drill here. So we would do this just basically not say a choice drill, but option. We call it option drill or vert drill. Okay, because our vert drills, they're always tied in with our hitches. Okay, and again, this is all about reading leverage here. So So we would tell these defenders here. Now again, the wide receivers would go to defense right after the rep here. So quarterback would read, this quarterback's gonna read this side, this quarterback's gonna read this side, and they would obviously switch every couple reps. But this defender has the option of just coming playing soft or playing press coverage, same thing. And quarterback is going to read the leverage. Receivers are going to read the leverage as well, because that's going to determine what route they are running. Okay, obviously, if they're pressed, they're going to outside release, mandatory outside restack, and get over top the defender. Okay, if that defender is soft, they're going to run their 5-step or 3 to 5 step hitch and turn around and show hands. And now the quarterback's taught, he's got to pre-snap this. Where's my easiest throw? Again, who's open right now? Who's open right away? Where's my easiest throw? I need to make the easiest throw. Typically, obviously, the easiest throw is always going to be that slot receiver if he's open. But if he's pressed and he's off, then the easiest throw here is because he's open right now. Again, teaching receivers to understand space, and space. So is my space in front or behind the defender based on his leverage? Based on his leverage pre-snap, where's my space? And I need to get to that spot accordingly. And this is because if you don't rep this kind of things, then in game time, I find that the quarterback and receiver sometimes are not on the same page. This helps them visualize muscle memory as far as understanding where the space is and where that leverage is. So this is a big time drill for us to use, especially when we're kind of focusing in on the 4 verts for that particular day. Again, this is not necessarily an everyday drill for us. I would love it to be if I had the time, because we use this play so much that it helped out a lot. You could see it on the film and things like that in the game where we were completing the hitches as much as we were completing the verts, because once you put it on film, teams start recognizing, hey, we're going to throw short. So then we started going deep over the top. And so it just became a very, very big play. And I attribute this drill to a lot of that success here, because we repped the crap out of this as much as we could. Now, again, it wasn't an everyday drill, but it was something that we used quite a bit. The drill that we used highly was our stick drill. This is a specialized drill here. So we'd have our center, our quarterback, and typically we would use both quarterbacks here. So we'd have a wide receiver or slot, and a wide receiver on the outside, and then we'd also have a running back. You use the running back in this drill here. We would give an overhang. We put a corner out there. Actually, no, scratch it. We didn't use a corner on this one. I'm sorry. So forget about the corner. And again, quarterback's reading this guy. Now, why is there 2 quarterbacks? Well, this is a mandatory outside release. We're trying to keep this like almost rats in here. So that receiver's always going to catch a ball. This back quarterback here is always going to throw the vert. So that receiver's always getting work here. He's not just running his route and not catching a ball. So we're making sure we're getting the ball to him. So quarterback's going to read this guy, and we just give him the option of staying put right here in a zone or chasing that running back. And again, the drill here, the concept is, maybe you heard some other coach say, if this defender stays in, then we throw out to the swing. Okay. And if he chases the swing, we throw in to the stick. And so we run this and we just rep it. The quarterbacks obviously switch. Quarterbacks switch back and forth. And so we're just getting reps on this. And typically this is when we are focusing in on stick for that particular day. This is a good little specialized drill that we would 5 minutes, 7 minutes, just to get a really good feel. Then this piece obviously pays off when we go into team and things like that. You can see the results of this. That quarterback is really getting that read here. This is what we're really focusing in on, that read. All right, so it's a 1-man read here. Obviously, we have that pre-snap. If you watch my previous videos talking about stick, we do have that pre-snap, but we're not worried about that in this drill in particular. So this is a good specialized drill. Again, not an everyday drill, but definitely something that I used quite a bit if I was focusing on the stick concept for that particular day. All right, so another little specialized drill here is the snag drill or the corner drill here. So a little bit more advanced as far as a read here. So you have your quarterback here, and this is where we'd only use one quarterback here. We'd have our running back, our slot receiver. And this was where we would use a corner and an overhang as well here. So we'd have 2. So again, we have a swing here. We have our corner. We have our slant and sitter, our snag grab right there. Okay, so now, again, you go back to previous videos. First read is right here. And again, if that corner does anything but bail, all right, so if he bails, we obviously come off the corner. So he's watching that corner further. That corner takes off or bails out into his deep zone. We again go to this linebacker right there, and it is essentially turns into stick drill. So, but if that corner stays in the flats here, sits here, or chases that, then we are throwing that corner almost every single time. Now, again, if we see too high safety, we a lot of times we didn't as far as middle school was concerned. We see more of that in high school now, but we look at where that safety is. If we, I mean, you can put a safety in here if he's wide, if he's really wide outside the hashes, then that corner route becomes a little dicey. So we kind of pre-snap both of that. And we can talk about that at another video, but we usually don't use the safety here. We're just kind of just reading that corner because a lot of times it's hard for that safety to get over and make that play, especially if that corner sits. We just throw the ball right over top real quick, and it doesn't even necessarily turn into like a 20-yard route. So this is what we do here. So not every receiver in this drill is necessarily getting the ball. It's based on a read, but again, they're working their routes, trying to find that space, trying to get to that space here. Hitting their landmarks, where they're supposed to go, understanding their space. And these linebackers get a choice. So again, this linebacker here gets a choice whether he wants to sit or if he wants to chase that swing, okay, or even potentially take off after the corner if they're like a man. So he's got 3 options he can do. Okay, so essentially, again, whatever those 3 options would be, he's going to be wrong every single time. So these are just some basic drills that we use for specialize. And again, talk about corner here, the snag concept. This is what we use when we are doing that as well. So we carve out a little bit of time and practice as well with this piece. This for again, if we're running focusing on corner for that particular day, we'll run a bunch of teams. So we want to get a little some reps at it with the just the read progressions first, and then it shows in team where we can actually see with 11 on 11. So again, these drills are huge in my opinion. The last few that I showed were more specialized, not necessarily everyday drills, but the ones I showed in the beginning of the video. Highly recommend using them. They're great drills to have. So go ahead and check them out, and hopefully you can install them into your offense as well. So this is going to conclude this video here. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope this helped. Again, like I said in the beginning of the video, if you like this video or any other videos, go ahead and give the video a like. It helps the video grow, helps the video get seen. Also, if you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe, especially if you like the content I'm delivering. I'm trying to get out as many videos as I possibly can. It's getting busy here as far as spring ball and then working in the summer. So I'm trying to get this series done as quick as I possibly can, especially before football season rolls around, so that some of you guys can hopefully maybe implement this into your actual offense this year. Again, let me know if you have any comments, or I look forward to the feedback. But if not, again, like, subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video.